I've come to the realization that learning to be a parent is very similar to learning to record in a home studio. So, in this video, I'm going to break down the top 5 similarities between parenting and recording. Let's go. Hi, my name is Pete, and this is Studio Live today, where my goal is to help you create, record, and release your best music. And usually that's through tips and tricks and tutorial videos. However, today we're doing something a little bit different because occasionally I like to take a step back from the technical and from the actual recording hardware and software and all the other stuff and talk about what motivates us and give some encouragement and maybe a little bit of advice that I've picked up along the way that may help you out. Now, many of you are parents, have been parents, or have at least been parented by someone, and you're probably aware that it's a bit of a minefield when you're starting out. There's no guidebook that's handed over, there's no manual, there's no one way to do everything. And what is true about both recording and parenting is that everyone you talk to has plenty of advice that they want to let you know about. So I'm going to be one of those people, and I'm going to break down these top 5 similarities right now. Number 1, don't believe everything you read on the internet. Now, this is advice that was given to me when I first became a parent, and it's equally relevant when you're starting out in home recording. Why? Well, the internet is full of people, and people have a lot of opinions, and sometimes those opinions are based on fact and are based on reality, and sometimes they're not. Here's an example. In the parenting world, the topic of co-sleeping is one that is very divisive. So there are people that will say that co-sleeping, which is the act of allowing your baby, your toddler, your child to sleep in the same bed as the parents, they will say that that's evil, and if you do it, you're bad and you should feel bad. And then there's other people that say, you know what, after 24 hours of no sleep, you do what you need to do to get through the night. So yes, they're divisive, and if you just listen to one of those opinions and just based everything you do around that, then you're not seeing the whole picture. I find the same thing with software, so digital audio workstations or DAWs in the home recording world. So many folks start out and they'll go onto forums and everyone will say, you must use Pro Tools, you must use Logic, you must use Reaper. You know what you must do is look at all the options, work out what's going to work best for you in your situation with your workflow and your budget. And it really is as simple as that. There's often no yes, no, right, wrong, black, white answers. Everything has areas of grey. So when you're taking advice, when you're reading things online, keep that in mind. Number 2 is when seeking advice, talk to a professional and where possible, get a second opinion. So why am I throwing this out there? Well, I've been watching a lot of masterclass courses with some really great musicians and composers. So Hans Zimmer, Tom Morello, a bunch of folks who are professionals. And the one thing that they are consistently saying is it doesn't matter what gear you have, what experience you have, what software you have, you just need to get started, find your own sound, and whatever that happens to be is what you then work on. And then, yeah, you can level up in the skills and the gear as you progress. When you go online and you ask for feedback, and it's very similar to the first point I know, you're going to get Steve who's going to tell you that you must use this one bit of gear. If you don't use this audio interface, your sound will be crap and you should feel bad and never create again. Just the same as when you're starting out as a parent, you may go to a mother's group or father's group and Karen's going to tell you her view on topic A or topic B. You're not just going to go, oh, Karen did that, so I'm going to do that. At least ask Jenny as well. And the same with Steve. At least ask Dan his opinion and get a few different opinions because, again, everyone's going to have different advice and opinions. And the point is that you need to make your own decisions. So do the research and listen to a lot of people. It's just like when people say, they come and they say, hey, I like your channel and I watch all your videos. I'll always say, make sure you watch Patrick at GarageBand Guide, watch Dean Davis over at Songwriter Studio, watch Dan Baker videos. Because I don't want to say just do exactly what I do. It may not work for you. My methods, you may go, hey, I like this bit that Pete does, but I actually really like this other thing that Patrick does. And that is great. In fact, that is better to take all of that advice and get a bunch of different opinions. You're going to do better, whether it's in parenting or whether it's in home recording. Number 3, it will get easier. So remember, for those who are parents, when you are handed this tiny, fragile human that you are now 100% responsible for, pretty daunting. Yeah, you didn't know anything, you didn't know what to do, you just knew that you had responsibility and you needed to do something to protect this little child. Now, I'm not going to compare a baby to something like a mixing desk, but the first time I saw a mixing desk, I was completely lost as well. I looked at all these dials and knobs and sliders and thought, what on earth is going on here? The same with my first piece of recording software, the same with my first audio interface. Until you've actually had that experience, you are going to be flying a bit blind. But that's okay. Everyone starts at zero. I say that a lot as well. You're going to start out at zero, but you're going to learn, and it does get a lot better. Anyone that has 2, 3, and more children knows exactly what I'm talking about. By the time you hit child number 2 and child number 3, and further, I'm sure, for those that have a lot more children, it just gets easier because you know what you're doing. You know what to expect. You're familiar. The same thing with your recording. The reason that I say create, record, and release and just keep doing that, rinse and repeat, is that the only way to get better at something is to do it repeatedly, to actually practice, and you're going to improve. So it will get better if you're flailing, if you've got a 3-month-old baby now, or if you've just started out on your home recording journey. It's kind of the same thing. You don't know what you don't know yet, but don't worry, it does get better. Number 4, don't worry too much about today's problem. Now, this is the one piece of parenting advice that I actually freely give out if someone says to me, hey, Pete, you've got a couple of kids. What advice would you have for me? I'm about to have a baby. I'll say, look, things are going to happen. There's going to be problems. You'll probably freak out. We all do. It's okay. But don't stress so much about the one current thing, because what's going to happen is that will resolve itself, or you'll fix it, or something will happen, and then you'll move on to the next one. So it may sound a little bit negative to say you're always going to have problems, but the thing is, a lot of people freak out about like their kid wets the bed. And I'm like, your kid's 1 year old. When your kid's 18, they're probably not going to be wetting the bed. You'll have other issues with your 18-year-old, but bed wetting's probably not going to be one of them. The same is true for recording. Don't worry, if you start using a compressor and you throw your hands up and you're like, I don't know, attack from release, from makeup gain, this all just makes no sense. Once you've used a compressor on 5, 10, 20 tracks, that won't be a problem anymore. You'll move on to, hey, how do I incorporate this flanger? How do I use some stereo widening plugins to get some more depth? So don't stress so much about not knowing about EQ, not knowing about compression, not knowing how to set up your DAW. When you're first starting out, you're going to go through these things. You're going to go do this. You're going to go through all these little hurdles. You're going to come over the other side, and then you're going to keep running. And eventually, you'll be sprinting along, hurdling over everything, and creating great music, and hopefully great children as well. And the 5th and final similarity, in my view, between home recording and parenting is this. Don't forget to have fun. Enjoy the process. Embrace the learning process and the opportunities that you have, and realize that this is something that you get to do. This is something that you have a privilege to do, and it should be enjoyable. It should be fulfilling. Now, when you are sleep deprived and you haven't slept for the last 20 hours and you're grumpy and you've been working really hard, whether it's in the studio or whether you've been trying to get a crying child to sleep, you may not be feeling that every time. But I can assure you that in both cases, the end result is going to be worth it. So keep working towards that end result. This one was a little bit of fun here today, so please take it in that spirit. If you've got your own similarities and your own observations, I would love to hear them. Drop them down in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this and had a bit of a laugh. I'll see you on the next one.